Welcome to Bite Size SEO News, where I find the top 3 news in digital marketing so you don't have to, where I make news easy to digest and easy to follow. If you want to read the article, links are posted in the show notes below, so you never have to worry about FOMO. My name is Rich Ung, your host. Today is Monday, November 22nd, 2021, episode 14. Coming up, fresh out of the oven are today's top 3 news you definitely don't want to miss. Story 1. Twitter cancels AMP. Story 2. Google updates Indian searches with translated results. Story 3. Google adds new trend prediction tools personalized to your business to Google Ad Insights. If you're ready, let's get into it. In our first story, reported by Matt Southern of Search Engine Journal, Twitter says it's in the process of dropping support for AMP, which will be fully retired by the end of the year. Is AMP on its way getting canceled? Twitter confirmed it intends to drop support for the Google back format by the end of the year. In an updated developer document about AMP pages, Twitter states it's currently in the process of discontinuing the format. We're in the process of discontinuing support for this feature and it will fully be retired in Q4 of 2021. An SEO named Christian Oliveira spotted the updated document after Twitter user David Esteve says he noticed a lack of support for AMP pages dating back to mid-October. As Twitter's in the process of dropping support for AMP, it's possible the format is discontinued in some locations already. After 2021, Twitter will stop sending all users towards these pages, which many people aren't fond of to begin with. What does this mean for websites? Websites that publish AMP versions of their pages can continue doing so, and the links can still be shared on Twitter. The only thing that's changing is Twitter will send users to the publisher's original page instead of the AMP version. If you own or work for a website that publishes AMP pages, there's nothing you need to do differently. Links to AMP pages will still work on Twitter. It's not as though some users will be sent to broken pages. Whether you want to continue supporting the format on your end is essentially a choice. It's getting harder to make a case for publishing pages in the AMP format, especially after what's happened with it over the past year. Google itself is gradually phasing AMP out of a number of places where it was once prominent. Here's a recap of some recent developments in case you missed them. With the launch of the Page Experience Update, Google made a number of changes that suggest it's dropping support for AMP, though not completely. Google's first move towards phasing out AMP was removing the lightning bolt icon from search results. That made pages published in the format less obvious, but didn't stop them from ranking in Google. Later, Google removed AMP as a requirement for appearing in the top stories carousel. The pages were not removed from the carousel, but they'll now appear alongside regular HTML pages. Google's most recent step towards phasing out AMP occurred this past September, when the company announced it could show non-AMP content more regularly in Google News. Similar to the change to top stories carousel, AMP pages are still eligible to appear in Google News, but users now see regular HTML pages more often. In addition, Google News is sending users directly to the publisher's URLs rather than rendering them in the app. That update was supposed to roll out with the Page Experience Update, but it ended up being delayed by a few months. Across Google and soon Twitter, users are a lot less likely to land on AMP pages. As a result, publishers will get more traffic to their native URLs, where they can utilize features that would have been stripped out of the AMP version. If you'd like to see more of the story, make sure to check out Matt's article in the show notes. Next story. This was reported by Roger Monti of Search Engine Journal. Google documented a change called translated results currently limited to India. It auto-translates the titles and snippets between languages. Google added documentation for a new feature called translated results. Translated results is a feature that automatically translates web pages that are in a different language than the language of the user and then publish the title and snippet in the translated language. Google for India 2021. This change is part of a suite of updates that are specific to India, although one of the languages appear to be Indonesian. According to Google's announcement, quote, "When people across India access the web, not surprisingly, they prefer to find content in the languages they use in their daily lives. However, the local language web ecosystem is still growing, and most information on the web is in English. Today, we're announcing a feature in search that will give users the option to access web pages originally written in other languages and see it in their preferred language. This feature will now make high-quality web content available to local language users when they search, and they will still be able to view the pages in its original source language they prefer. It is now available in 5 Indian languages, including Hindi, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, and Malayalam, with more to come. It can be accessed on any mobile browser that supports Google search, end quote. Google has previously ranked content in other languages, but Google did not translate the title and snippet. The previous behavior was to add a link to the translated content. A new Google Search Central webpage documents what might be a new feature that enables Google to show search results to users regardless of language. The goal of the new feature is to fill in content gaps for users where there might not be enough content in the user's native language. The way the system works is if there is a lack of adequate web pages to rank in the user's native language, then Google will select the best web page in a different language and display that in the search results. Google automatically translates the title tag and meta description of the ranked web page from the foreign language to the language of the user. When the user clicks through from the search engine results page to the web page, Google will automatically translate the entire page into the user's native language. Google's new Search Central help page describes the feature as something that will be good for publishers because it will expand the audience for their content. The documentation states, open quote, "A translated result is a Google search feature that enables users to view results from other languages in their language and can help publishers reach a larger audience," end quote. All embedded images in JavaScript are supposed to work in the translated web page. Make sure to check out Roger's article for more information. Our final story for today, this one's from Andrew Hutchinson of Social Media Today. Google is adding some new predictive elements to Google Ad Insights, which will utilize both machine learning and historical data to predict likely consumer trends in your niche. The new trend predictions are still in beta and, as noted, are available on the Insights page in Google Ads, but they could end up being significant additions for your planning depending on their accuracy. First off, Google's testing demand forecasts, which will provide estimations of likely search interests for your products over the coming 6 months by combining machine learning with past seasonal search trends. Open quote, let's say you're a beauty retailer, you might see a prediction that search interest in perfumes and fragrances will start to trend in the middle of November with an increase of 27%. Interest then peaks to 93% on Black Friday and tapers off in the following weeks. To help you understand this forecast, you'll see trend lines for predicted search interests, actual search interests, and your clicks, the amount of traffic you've already received from this trend. Again, a lot of it depends on how accurate these predictions are and how honed in they can be based on your specific offerings. But with the historic search traffic data as the base, they could well be strong indicators of coming shifts, which could provide valuable guidance for your marketing, planning, and strategy. Google's also testing a new consumer interest insight element, which will aggregate the top performing search query themes that are driving performances in your campaign. That, again, could provide indicative data to help maximize your campaigns, with more specific info on what's working in your Google Ads efforts. It'll take some time and experimentation to get right, and Google does, again, note that all of these elements are in beta, so they're still working out the best way forward in each aspect. But they may well end up being powerful tools for your ad targeting and audience understanding efforts. Google says that these elements will be launched in Google Ads over the coming weeks, while you can check out the Insights page on Google Ads now to view the latest trends for your business. If you'd like more information, check out Ian's article in the show notes. That's it for today's show. We've made it to the end. You're good to go and ready for the day. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please rate the show so it helps spread the news and I can continue doing what I do best, which is providing you the latest SEO news you just cannot miss. Served tapa style, making it easy on the stomach and on the go. Once again, I'm your host, Rich Ung, and I'll see you on the flip side.